Brilliance Audio.
Please! Gia Kumari beseeched the Mother Superior. She struggled to stop the tears squeezing out of the bottom of her eyes, because the nuns of Mercy and Grace Orphanage would always say that tears should only be cried for Jesus Christ and the sacrifice that he made for everyone's sins. Today, it was hard, though, and the tears felt like they were running ragged red lines through the whites of her eyes, desperate to escape in the panic, which was the same panic that the rest of Gia felt, the sheer, utter terror of being forced to leave the only place she had ever known. "I am sorry, Gia." The tiny Mother Superior, Elena, not more than 5 feet with a pronounced dowager's stoop, replied from behind round wire-rimmed glasses, a heavy crucifix around her thin, wattled neck. Osteoporosis had its iron claws into her, but she seemed unperturbed by her awkward posture as she sat behind her wooden desk, a desk that had already been old and marked with ink and graffiti and scoured with scratches when it had been donated to the orphanage. Like the Mother Superior and Gia both, the desk had become a relic of the institution, as familiar as the whitewashed walls and the rotting, unlockable multi-sash window affair of the girls' dormitory, facing the fumes rising from the adjacent Lux soap factory, as if it was a panoramic view. When Gia had arrived in the orphanage, before she was old enough to remember it, Mother Superior Elena had been Sister Elena, and had been at least a head and a half taller. Seeing her become the Mother Superior had been a decades-long process of watching the nun shrink and wrinkle and fold back into herself, disappearing into her white habit. There was, apparently, only one size available, and sitting smaller and smaller in the ratty chair behind the desk. It was as if one day she would shrink to nothing and become another dust mote dancing with the myriad specks in the shaft of sunlight that shone through the office window between the hours of 2 and 3 o'clock in the autumn and spring months. Yes, Gia had been at Mercy and Grace Orphanage a very, very long time. All her life, in fact. And now they wanted to throw her out. A wooden clock on the wall behind the desk ticked away, the sound of it like a crow pecking the remains of a dead tree stump. "You are 21 years old, Gia," Mother Superior Elena said in response to Gia's best doleful look, the nun's tone stiffening a little. It was a fact that orphans, much like puppies and kittens, learned from a young age to make their eyes wide and glistening and in need of anything you might be willing to offer them. Nuns, for the most part, quickly became immune to it. "But I am the most helpful of anyone here, am I not?" Gia argued. "I take charge of distributing duties, and I am a mentor for every new orphan that comes into the orphanage. And I have even begun teaching math classes." "All of which is commendable, Gia," the Mother Superior said, with the air of someone who was not bothering to disguise the sizable but that was coming. "But these things have only meant that we could justify not moving you on before now. Most orphans move out at 60, she went on. 18 in a few cases. At some point, "I could be a nun," Gia tried desperately. And it was a desperate effort. One which the Mother Superior was never going to fall for. She knew as well as Gia did that, of all the things that Gia had found at Mercy and Grace, God was not one of them. "End of the month. That's the best I can give you." The Mother Superior said the words with such an expression of sympathy and regret, although doing nothing to tamp down Gia's rising panic, she found it impossible to unleash the anger that wanted to explode out of her. Nuns had their wiles too.